And with all the blood on your son's belt here, and your tears on that belt, The Rock is going to whisper in your ear, he's going to wipe your tears away, and he's going to say, Michelle, what can I say except you're welcome?
What's going on, everybody? It is I, the Franchise here, and this is another installment of Wrestle Talk with yours truly. And I'm not going to say it because I always say we have so much to cover today. I do not, and I always tell you guys, I don't want to waste anybody's time. We have a lot to cover. We had the return of, in my opinion, the best version of The Rock, even though when he did appear with this character, with the Hollywood Rock character, it did not sit well with a lot of people. And now that we have the Hollywood Rock character back, I'm noticing that more people are like, this is the Rock that we want. We love this Rock. Da-da-da-da-da. But when he originally came out with this gimmick, not everybody was on board with it. Well, at least the people that I was around was not very much on board with Hollywood Rock. So we're going to talk about the return of the Hollywood gimmick. Well, I won't even call it a gimmick. Hollywood Rock. We're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about there were tons of matches confirmed for Wrestlemania. We are going to dive into the debut of Mercedes Moné in AEW. And Bleacher Report just released this past week. They started their top 50 WWE wrestlers of all time. And they dropped 50 to 41, and we will go through that. I'm not really going to give my thoughts on it. I may say, well, I get this, I get that, but you're not really going to hear my full reaction to this till we get to probably the top 25, because that's where it gets more dicey, and then obviously the top 5 and who is number 1 of all time. I have an idea. I think I know who is going to be, but I'll just say right now, we celebrated him on Saturday. Y'all know I'm always recording this on Sunday, which drops on Monday. Saturday was March 16th, 316 day. Stone Cold Steve Austin, in my opinion, will probably be number 1. I feel like maybe The Rock is going to be in the top 5. I'm going to say Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is going to be in the top 10. I want to say 5. I really want to say 5, but I'm going to say top 10. Obviously, Brock Lesnar is going to be there. Obviously, The Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Seth, Hogan will be on there, obviously. Flair. I will be very interested in if Flair's on this because it's top WWE stars. And Flair is more known for his work outside of the WWE rather than his work in the WWE. But let's not waste no more time. Let's dive right into this because I do not want to take up much of your guys' time. With that being said, Friday night. Well, let's not even talk about Friday. Let's talk about what happened leading up to Friday night. Leading up to Friday night on SmackDown, Monday night, Cody Rhodes was interviewed by Michael Cole in the ring in a kind of a conversational thing. He asked Cody, how can you trust Seth Rollins? Which, here we go. We're already creating the wrinkles or the possibility of there being wrinkles between those two. How can you trust him? He's the only one that defeated Roman Reigns, Grant, by disqualification. And he never got his rematch. Now, I'm sorry, I didn't know that Seth Rollins was entitled to a rematch when, it happened. They already fought. I didn't know that he was entitled to this rematch, but I digress. And then said, they have their history. How can Cody Rhodes trust in Seth Rollins? Which then creates this whole thing of Seth Rollins possibly turning on Cody Rhodes at Mania. I don't want to believe that's the case. I'm hoping that's not the case. I really am. But if it does, I don't really know what to say if Cody Rhodes is betrayed by Seth Rollins, because if Seth loses the world title and screws Cody Rhodes out of his title, we're back to Cody versus Seth for nothing. Obviously, it's going to be because of Cody getting screwed out of the title, but what's the end game for that? They already had a trilogy before. So why are we going to revisit this again? So anyway, as we watched Cody Rhodes' interview, Cody Rhodes did what Cody Rhodes does all the time. He shows his emotional side. And Cody did shed tears. He did say, I cannot give this title to Dusty, but I can give it to my mom. And he says, she's all I have left. Then talked about Brandy. And Bully Ray said it. And what he said was, crying brings the fans closer to you. Now, the Ace had made a stat or a post on his story that said that he was kind of tired of the Cody cries. Like, we've seen it far too much. I will agree to a degree. But that's what makes Cody Cody. Every time he speaks, and it's pure. Every time he speaks of his dad, due to Dusty not being here, every time he speaks about his dad, you see him get emotional. You see him get choked up, because he's finally at a point in his career where I think Dusty always knew he would get to. And with Dusty no longer being able to see this, and he's hearing the stories of your dad will be proud of you, your dad always used to talk about you, your dad believed in you, it will tug at your heart. It really will tug at your heart when you think about it. You're like, damn, like Dusty's really gone. And now we're on the verge of Cody possibly finishing this story, and Dusty's not here to see it. But Friday afternoon, as he does every Friday, The Rock took to social media. And The Rock was in his gym. And The Rock cut by far the most scathing, scorched earth promo directed at Cody Rhodes. Referring to himself as the final boss. Making claims of doing brutal things to Cody Rhodes. Making fun of the fact that Cody Rhodes was crying during this. I'm not going to reiterate what he said. I'll just let The Rock say it for us.
Are you fucking kidding me? You start fucking crying? You start crying? That's how you respond? No wonder all your fans are crybabies. Cody crybabies. No wonder, because they're Superman, their hero. He's not crying too. You can cry. You can cry. I can't give the belt to Dusty, but I can give it to my mama. I can give it to my mommy. My mommy. Shut the fuck up. Give it to your mommy.
Let me tell you guys something. And this is going to be a further conversation because people are voicing their displeasure of The Rock and his ability to cut these promos with this tone, with this language, and the rest of the superstars are relegated to keeping it PG, right? The Rock is doing this on his social media platform. To hear, this is, as I was explaining it to my brother, I said Cody Rhodes needed to cut a promo similar to what he did with Dustin leading into All In, I believe. But y'all know, I talked about it a couple weeks ago, and I've always said that Cody Rhodes needs to cut a promo that is drawing the line in the sand and saying that this is going to be the death of the Attitude Era. He said it's not brother versus brother, it's generation versus generation. Cody Rhodes, and I will consistently say this until the day that he does this, he needs to cut that promo, because what it is looking like is Rock is being the masculine man. He's portraying himself to have that, that toxic masculinity of real men don't cry. Excuse my language. You're a bitch if you cry, or you're worse if you cry. And Cody is showing people it's okay to do this. So it's a generational thing between Attitude Era and this era. As someone referred to it as the Renaissance Era. And then it's a battle of male generations, because we have the ones that were before us that always believed in not showing emotion. Real men don't cry. We don't do that. And then you have this generation, the younger generation, my generation and below, that is willing to show vulnerability, that is willing to show it's okay to do this. So it's a generational thing. It's a battle. But Cody needs to set this precedent on Monday, because he didn't do it on Friday. Know what he did on Friday? He probably sat down, had a drink, and enjoyed the Rock concert. Because that's what The Rock did. SmackDown was in Memphis. The Rock put on. He showed up with that Hollywood music. And I loved the way they mixed it. Loved it. Started with the new version. And then you hear the riff. You hear that riff. And then it switches. And then we get Hollywood Rock. We get the Hollywood theme music. We get that. And even when he came out, as the music switched, it's like his character switched and he became back to the Hollywood Rock, walking with that slow bravado, that swag that The Rock has. And then he did what made Hollywood Rock. And that's put on that performance, put on that Rock concert. And boy, oh boy, he took shots at Cody for Cody being Stardust. Took shots at Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins for Becky being the man in the relationship. Took shots at Mama Rhodes, Cody's mother. And took it so much so that he even talked about Ja Morant in Memphis. This right here was Rock at his finest. I've said it before and I will say it again. Every week, I grow more and more into loving what The Rock is doing. Remember, I've always sat here and said, I was a fan of The Rock who always clamored for him to come back. But I always was upset when he would come back, show up for like a split second, and then he'll disappear. And I said, if we did not get Rock and Roman, I didn't want it anymore. But with this Rock character, with what he's doing now, I don't mind The Rock coming back and doing this. I have no problem with it. Because what he's done is I'm not going to say he's made wrestling cool, because wrestling has always been, in my opinion, it's always been cool. It might have had its down moments, but wrestling has always been the talk. So he continues to push. And as I said before, we're not accustomed to seeing Roman Reigns play second fiddle, literally to nobody. He's never been the back seat. He's never rolled shotgun or in the back seat to no one. He's always been the face. He's always been the one that people are coming to see. When he does show up with The Rock, they do cheer for him. But it's a different cheer when The Rock shows up than to when Roman shows up. So much so that remember back when Roman was asking for them to acknowledge him and they wouldn't, and he was getting upset. He needed that validation from Rock to acknowledge him so he can feel okay. He acknowledged me, we're all good. But for The Rock to do what he did on Friday night and eviscerate, scorch earth Cody Rhodes, so much so, only The Rock can do a promo, talk about beating Cody Rhodes in front of his own mother and get close enough to the camera and say, I'm going to whisper this to you.
What can I say except you're welcome?
You can't get more sadistic. You can't get more like, you want to talk about when he refers to himself as the final boss. He's the final boss. He's the ultimate heel. Like, I never thought we could get a more, like, diabolical heel than what we have right now with The Rock. For him to use Maui, Moana, what can I say except you're welcome? This is why I say I love heels, because they just know how to just be just incredible, great, electrifying. I said it on Friday. I said it after the 8-minute promo that he did on social media. And I said it after I realized he wasn't going to be there. Cody Rhodes needs to go off. I mean, Cody Rhodes needs to, whoever stands in Cody Rhodes' way needs the hell beat out of them to set the example for Rock. That needs to happen. Because if it doesn't happen and Cody Rhodes just keeps on doing what he's doing, crying, doing all this stuff, I do not want Cody Rhodes to finish the story at WrestleMania. I wouldn't. Theoretically, I don't, because I want him to finish it where it started, as I've always alluded to. But if he does not show any type of anger, because as Mark Henry even said, you talk about my mom, there's nothing stopping me from getting my hands on you. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, they want to talk about making things more realistic. Let Cody show up somewhere where The Rock is. Let Cody show up somewhere where The Rock's filming something. And he shows up and he starts going to war. Ripping, going through anybody to get to the final boss. Because one thing my brother said is, if you notice, Rock has not gotten physical. Yeah, he got slapped, but Rock hasn't endured any physicality between nobody. There might be a reason behind that. But let's try to make this worthwhile. Let's make this great storytelling. And Cody needs to turn it up. Because right now, Cody's losing. And someone actually said, I won't be surprised if the Philadelphia fan base, which, think about this. When we originally came around to this, and it was supposed to be Rock and Roman had decided, or Cody decided to let The Rock take over, and Rock was supposed to have his match with Roman Reigns, we were talking about the Philadelphia fan base hijacking this show and booing that match. I believe if we don't see Cody turn it up in the way The Rock has been going, that Philadelphia crowd might turn on Cody and Seth night one, which then they might turn on Cody even more come night two. The one thing about the Philadelphia fans, the one thing about the diehard cities of wrestling fans, they will turn the needle organically if they feel we're tired of this. We're tired of, we don't want to see Cody's story end now. Because The Rock made it so incredibly great. And The Rock has done X, Y, and Z that we don't even want Cody to finish the story now. That will be telling. That right there will be telling. So earlier today, I spoke about The Rock, this promo that he cut on Instagram, and how people are upset. Apparently, there's word around the universe is that superstars are upset with the fact that The Rock is able to cut these promos, use this language, while they are subject to the PG era. They're subject to this cutting cookie cutter promos, I would call it like that. So The Rock responds to this, and he responded to it yesterday on his social media. I seen it on his Instagram, and it is footage of the Rock concert, and he said the following: networks and standards and practices have issues with my language, but I'd rather be real than not. I talk from the heart, I shoot from the hip. I try to always have fun. Enjoy the Rock concert with the music emoji, the smiling devil emoji, and the glass that looks like it could be tequila or whiskey or whatever. The Rock is a draw. The Rock is a needle mover. No pun intended. When he shows up, ratings go up. They didn't need, and I said this before, they didn't need The Rock for this WrestleMania because this WrestleMania was already going to be huge. They was already building it to be the greatest WrestleMania ever. But with The Rock being inserted into this, it has upped it. It has made it more. We're getting Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns and The Rock. And then we're getting night two, we're getting Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. And then we're getting Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. And we don't know what's going to happen with the Seth Rollins match. We don't know because The Rock said he would do everything in his power to make that title disappear. I think he means more so get that title off of Seth Rollins. They're allowing him to be himself. Think about The Rock back in the Attitude Era. He was saying some off-the-wall crazy stuff back then. It was just, he had a way of saying it in that time that it was cool to say. But he had to be like, okay, let me do this. But now he's doing it where I'm being authentically me. This is how I talk. This is how The Rock talks. If you ever listen to him on his Instagram, he does he does shoot from the hip. He does say some things. I understand where they're coming from because they feel like they're handcuffed, like they may want to do the same thing. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to fall into the AEW thing where AEW is consistently bullshit, swearing. They're consistently doing this. So much that it then becomes like it's a turn off. You don't want to watch it now. You're just like, oh my God, here we go. But when you can do it from a place of it being organic, like when Cody came out at the press conference and he said, this is bullshit. That was organic. That was organic. When Seth Rollins and them got into the tussle after Rock slapped Cody and Seth Rollins was like, this is bullshit. I can't. And he was going off the hedge. That was organic. If you do it like that, I have no problem with them doing it that way. But if you're doing it in like a promo sense, then that's when it becomes like, all right, we doing too much. But The Rock is doing what he's doing. I don't think anyone's going to say anything to The Rock about it because, I mean, it's true. He's on the board. Will we see stuff moving forward? Language barrier kind of blurred? Maybe. But I will say, and I'm pleading, Cody, please, Monday, today, because this will be dropping Monday. So today, please, do not come out with the bullshit promo. Come out ready for war. Come out looking to go after anybody within that bloodline, with the exception of Jey Uso. But even to that point, make it so personal that you have to confront Jey. Even though Jey is not a part of this and Jey is on like the good side, your frustration got to be that much that you possibly like not take it out on Jey, but you damn near are borderline on the verge of taking it out on Jey Uso. And speaking of Jey Uso, transitioning from that, I spent the last 30 minutes talking about The Rock. We're now on WrestleMania. Jimmy and Jey Uso, brother versus brother. Brother versus brother. Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy was the last brother versus brother match at WrestleMania. But the more iconic brother versus brother is obviously Bret versus Owen. WrestleMania 10. Everyone remembers that match. And they finally are going to go forward with Jimmy versus Jey. And Jey Uso said, if you thought, and he said this in an interview, if you thought Sammy and the bloodline, you thought that was something. You thought me versus Roman was something. You ain't seen nothing till you see me and my brother. If they build, because we are 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks away from Mania. If you built this the right way, this might be the greatest brother versus brother match ever. It just might be. We found out on last Monday, that it will be Sami Zayn taking on Gunther, the Intercontinental Champion, for that title. You already know how I feel about this. I feel like Sami Zayn is going to be the one to dethrone Gunther. And it's going to be, the more and more I think of it, and even though I would have loved for Jey Uso to do it, I don't see another person after like sitting there and thinking about it and letting it fester and marinate in me that now it's official that Sami Zayn and Gunther is facing each other. Now I can say there's no other person I would rather want to see beat Gunther than Sami Zayn. Because if you want to talk about somebody that looks in the ring, though as if they're going, like you need to throw in the towel, it's Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, those two are great sellers, okay? To that point where you're like, for God's sake, Sami, give up. Like, that's what's going to happen. Gunther is going to do, I'm not going to say it's going to be in the level of when he fought Chad Gable, because when he fought Chad Gable, he like annihilated Chad Gable. But it's going to be that type of match. And when Sami Zayn defeats Gunther, the crowd is going to erupt. It's going to, because you're going to have this happen. You're going to have Gunther, the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time, lose this title to Sami Zayn. We were told last week, we were told, 2 weeks ago, we were told that there was going to be an announcement for the Undisputed Tag Team titles, which is basically the Judgment Day. Damian Priest and Finn Balor will be defending their titles in a 6 or 8 tag team ladder match. It's a wrap. They're losing the tag team titles. I will be surprised if the Judgment Day does emerge still as tag team champions. We do know what Kevin Owens' story is going to be going into WrestleMania. He is involved in the triple threat for the United States title with Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, and Logan Paul all facing each other in this match. We also were announced that AJ Styles and LA Knight will be facing off at WrestleMania as well. So it looks like the WrestleMania card is stacking. It's getting up there. Stand and Deliver, which is going to be also during WrestleMania weekend, was announced that Trick Williams will be taking on Carmelo Hayes. That is going to be a very interesting match. I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's always great when you see tag teams that split, have their rival, have their match. And speaking of that, I will say this. It's not on my docket, but I will say this. I said it last week. Karrion Kross continues to push it, but I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if Dawkins turns on Montez. Now, I know we've here on this platform have talked about the Street Profits ad nauseum when we talk about them. And we've always exhausted the fact of them, one of them turning on one another. But Karrion Kross brought up a good point, and said B-Fab and Dawkins versus Montez and I don't even have to say her name. We all know who that is. It's the EST, it's Bianca Belair. And I've always said, when Karrion Kross speaks as what The Rock says, when he drops the gospel, pay close attention, because he predicts a lot, and a lot of things have happened, and he was the leading cause of it, but no one talks about that. So obviously, then we also have, it appears like Damage Control will be involved in something with Bianca Belair and Naomi, or Naomi. And then we obviously know Bianca Belair is going to get involved. And possibly, if it's Dakota and the Kabuki Warriors, as I said before, Bianca, Naomi, and Jade. I know people are saying that Jade may face Nia Jax at Mania. Possibly. I can't see that possibly happening, but we'll have to wait and see. So that's it for the WrestleMania talk for right now. We will find out more as the weeks lead up to WrestleMania. There was some more announcements for the Hall of Fame, but I do not remember them off the top of my head. I did not put them in my list, so I apologize. But it does appear, though, as if the finalists, the people that were announced for the Hall of Fame is final, which means Bray Wyatt is not going to be inducted this year in the Hall of Fame. I said it before, if he's not inducted in this one, he has to be inducted in 41. Hopefully the list isn't finalized and we do get more, because they didn't announce, well, they technically did announce the celebrity one with Muhammad Ali. And I know Muhammad Ali was one that I can remember. They didn't announce the Warrior recipient for the Warrior Award. So maybe they haven't completely finished the announcements for the Hall of Fame. So before I wrap this up, I'm looking at 42 minutes. So I want to get by these last two matters at hand, hopefully not eclipse an hour. So Mercedes Moné made her debut in AEW. If you follow the page on Instagram, RCW_podcast, you did hear what I had to say. If not, this is what I have to say about it. It's cool. I was happy to see that. Originally, but I still am on the, I don't like the rollout that companies do. It's always going to be great for that person to debut in their hometown. We've seen it with CM Punk. We've seen it with her. I believe Edge might have done the same in AEW. I could be wrong. But I'm just not the huge fan of that, because you get it's the easy pop. Let's see how they can do fair in another city. Mercedes and Punk, no matter where they could have went, I think would have drew that reaction. All I will say is I hope that she has a successful AEW career. As we have seen in the past with Adam Cole, with Adam Copeland. Edge is the biggest one. You realize they need the WWE. I love Edge. I love Adam Copeland. But Adam Copeland in AEW does not have the same effect as Edge has in the WWE. He just doesn't. I hope the same doesn't happen with Mercedes. I didn't like I'm here, this is where I wanted to be, blah, 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 all this stuff. Because, okay, I get you're pandering to the crowd, but in the interview that you did, you basically said you will be back in the WWE. You have unfinished business there. I don't really like when people do that shit. So that's that. I am looking forward to seeing what she does in AEW, though. I honestly want to see her and Brent Baker, maybe her and Saraya, because they have history that they need to go at, and Toni Storm as well. I want to see her and Toni Storm as well. But let's dive into Bleacher Report's top 50 WWE Superstars of all time. This started this past week, and here is the criteria. Because whenever there's a list I need to know the criteria so I can know how are they gauging this? How did they create this list? So there is a list of things. It has historical significance, championships, popularity, needle mover, time active, pay-per-view / premium live appearances, and skills. In-ring, mic, and charisma. So at 50, we have The Big Show. 49, we have Hall of Famer Lita. 48, we also have Hall of Famer Vader. 47, Dean Ambrose. 46, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. 45, Asuka. 44, Kofi Kingston, which I will say this, if Kofi Kingston is 44, then Xavier and Big E have to be on this list, because you cannot turn around and say that. That's just my opinion. At least Big E. I know people are going to have their issues, or they're going to say whatever they had to say about Xavier Woods, but Xavier Woods should be on this list as well if you're going to have one member of the New Day on this list. Jeff Hardy, Ravishing Rick Rude, and to top the list, 41 is Sasha Banks, now known as Mercedes Moné. As I said, I'm really not going to have much to say about these lists. Every time this list continues they reveal their list every week, I will come on here and give y'all the list. And then once we get down to the top 25, we get to the top 10, we get to the top 5, then I will go back and revisit this whole list and tell you if they got it right, in my opinion. Lists are made to be debated. That's why they do these lists. They do these lists because they want people to hold court and hold debates on these lists. That's what I've realized for some time now. With all that being said, I have hit the 48-minute mark based on this timer that I have right here. So with that being said, I'm done. I'm out for this week. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Make sure that you drop a comment below. Let me know what y'all think about this episode. Let me know what y'all thought about Rock concert. Let me know what y'all think about The Rock now. Like, as each week has progressed, has went by, has your thoughts on The Rock changed? Has it been the same? What do you think of The Rock's social media promos that he cuts? And then when he comes on to Smackdown and he cuts his promos there, what do you think? How do you think Cody Rhodes should respond? Do you want to see Cody kind of take the high road and not really do it? Or do you want Cody to just go all in, no pun intended? Tell me what you guys think of the WrestleMania card so far coming up. You know, what do you see happening on the showcase of the Immortals? And let me know what y'all think about Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné, her debut in AEW, and the start of the top 50 WWE Superstars of all time. I am the franchise, better known as the podcast Tribal Chief. This has been another installment of Wrestle Talk with your truly, the franchise. I am out till next week. Enjoy another week. World of Professional Wrestling. I am out. Later.